Boom. We are live, Matt. We are live with
We
our new
are,
show, MAVminds.
we're we're Mavin this all the way.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, welcome everybody. We are kicking off a new show. This new show is called MAVminds. It is with myself, Luke, and Mr. Matt here. I'll be your host, and Matt will be our moderator. It's a cool new show concept that basically Matt and I brainchilded that really brings together a lot of different things that we're passionate about, and we wanted to make it as fun and interactive as possible for our viewers and our friends and family, of course, because probably it's just friends and family watching right now, but in the future, who knows? Let's figure that out. So overall, the concept of the show is pretty simple. It's going to be a show that's all about innovative mindsets. In Maverick mindsets is really what MAV stands for in a shorter way. Um, and it's really about like, kind of the game-changing breakthroughs that are going on, talking about those, how to implement some of the cool things that are going on in the world into your own workflow in a new media sense. What are you doing for grassroots do-goodery out in the world, and how are we going to be able to help you with that? And then also just, overall business and communications and kind of new tools that are out there. We'll be labbing and, if you will, being two new media mad scientists testing out what's out there and making it work. Um,
I think that's part of the fun of it too, Luke. Just to jump in quick, is that
Please.
part of us doing this show is to show what a couple of guys with basic tools at home. You're a Mac guy, I'm a Windows guy. We have cameras, we have enough personality and know-how to be on camera with some presence, and that's about it. And the rest of our tools, other than some microphones, some other things that we might recommend along the way, it's kind of a scrappy, go-to, do-it-yourself version of a
Yeah.
modern, amateur broadcast. In the sense that we're really trying to also show and share with the audience how you can accomplish the same kind of thing yourself. So, once you've seen us put up a couple of episodes of the show and start having fun with it, we're going to be adding pre-recorded content, some other components as well. Don't hesitate to reach out to us and ask about how we're doing it, start dialogues and helping other people just within our social networking sites and other places you can reach us to ask questions about how you can do some of the same kind of thing yourself, because we're in an age in media where a lot of us need to be on camera and have an online presence all the time, and this is kind of a great way to do it. So we're excited to share that part of it with you too, the behind the scenes and how we're doing it.
Pumped to be doing it with you, Matt. Absolutely, sir. You're the man. So let's kick it off. We've got an awesome guest for our first show, someone that I know quite well, but let me give you a little bio on this gentleman here. We have a special guest. It's a Marine Corps veteran, a retired detective, lifelong artist, cigar aficionado, and really above all, he's a role model to myself and to many people. His family emulates him. Many of his former coworkers idolize him. And to me, he's not just a guest. He's my father, Fred Ryan. Let's bring on Fred Ryan. Oh, you're not on yet. Sorry. Here we go.
There's some intro there.
You like that?
Yeah, that makes me into sounding like somebody pretty important.
You are pretty
I'm not.
important.
Yeah, you are.
Absolutely.
Just a regular guy.
With Stogie in the background there? Is that?
That's Stogie, yeah.
It is Stogie. What's up, Stogie?
Yeah, that's Stogie. Stogie was a rescue during COVID, and we sat actually in this outdoor patio room and one night to come up with his name, and somebody threw out Stogie, and everybody said, yes, that's the name. So that's Stogie, and he loves the name, right? So, yeah, he's a good boy.
That's awesome. So for the friends and family, of course, we know you all very well, but there's some other folks who do not. So where were you born? Where'd you grow up? And give me the childhood story of Fred Ryan.
Well, I was born in Somerville, New Jersey. The first house that I lived in was in Middlesex, New Jersey, and it was a big old house that my parents bought for $15,000. I think it had 5 bedrooms, had pillars in the front. It's a corner lot, and they raised 6 kids in it. I'm the 5th of 6. My oldest brother is 10 years older than me, and my younger sister is 3 years younger than me. Middlesex, I don't know if you really call it a rough town, but it was kind of that way back then. I mean, there was a lot of, I mean, that's when bullying was popular. So either you were bullied or you were bullying someone, or you might be bullied one day and they're going to be bullying somebody the next day. But that's the way life was in that town. So when I grew up, and I think it was for most of the kids in the neighborhood, I mean, we all racked up hundreds of street fights, and I mean, kid stuff for the most part until you became an adult, and then it became a little more serious. But that was Middlesex. I went to Catholic school. Went to Catholic school into high school, and then transferred to the public high school. Finished high school shortly. Did a little time in college, but then left. I was studying art and design in there, and joined the Marine Corps, of course. And I chose the Marines. My father, he was a World War II Pacific Marine, and it seemed like the place to go, and it was a good place to go at the time.
So what was that decision point? Like, when you were thinking about maybe even going into the Marine Corps, was it something you had as a kid, a vision, like, oh, I'm going to be that when I grow up, or just had a spark?
No, it was more like a survival thing. I think I was not headed in the right direction. I wasn't doing the schoolwork I needed to do, and hanging out with my friends and drinking beer most of the time at night, and the grades were not holding up. I had taken that armed force aptitude test in high school, and I guess the recruiter was going through his list of people, and he called me at the right time, and he said, why don't you come in and we'll talk? And we did. And I said, this is the path I need to take. So I joined the Marines. I enlisted.
How close was Full Metal Jacket to the boot camp?
Well, each platoon, each boot camp, I mean, there's one on the West Coast, and then there's the real Marine Corps in Parris Island, which is, I could almost hit it with a rock where I'm living now. They're all kind of different, but as far as everything I've seen, I mean, the DI was a movie, and that was pretty good, but Full Metal Jacket boot camp was pretty accurate, and I believe the senior drill instructor in that movie, I think he was a former Marine.
Yeah, that's true. Former drill instructor, Arlie Emery, right? Yeah, he was a former drill instructor.
Yeah, it was pretty accurate. I mean, there's one funny thing that comes to mind. We had to do fire watch at night, which sometimes if it was your turn, I think it was about 2 hours. You had to walk around and make sure that barracks wasn't catching on fire. And then you got relieved by the next guy. And so there was always somebody awake walking around at night. Well, we had this one guy, Private Butler, and I think he was from Rhode Island. And he was my bunk mate, I guess you would call it. One of us slept on the top, one on the bottom bunk. And Butler was a sleepwalker. So if there was any kind of noise or anything in the barracks or anything that bothered him, he would wake up. And then you'd catch him when you're on fire watch and send him back to his rack. Well, we had the barracks split in half at one point, where half of us were on mess duty that went later at night, and the other half, Butler's half, were in the barracks sleeping. So when we came in, we tried to be quiet, but we're going through our foot lockers and getting our stuff for shaving and to get ready to go to sleep. And it caused a little bit of ruckus, and I hear Butler say, "What's going on, Fred?" And I'm reaching around inside the foot locker, and I look up and I see Butler standing. And I'm like, holy smokes, he's asleep. I said, "Butler, it's an inspection. Get online." So he stands there in his underwear. He's standing at attention. and they're still filtering in. They're still coming in. The other guys from our half of the platoon, and big Staff Sergeant Lohman, Native American guy, big guy. He comes walking. He's the last one to walk in. He comes walking through. Boom, boom. It's almost like he left like a thunder when he walked. And he walks past us, and he stops and he turns and he looks. And he says, "Butler, what the hell are you doing?" He says, "Ready for inspection, sir." So he looks at me and I got my face inside the footlockers. Try to keep from laughing. Well, anyway, that was a boot camp story, but it was pretty PG, I think.
Yeah, it's all good. What when you were in the Marines though, you got into boxing, right? Was it before then, or I mean, obviously you had street fights and stuff.
Well, yeah, a lot of street fights, but in the Marine Corps, I didn't know that they had boxing team and all that stuff. I met a guy that was in the boxing team once, but I always had an interest in it. I got gloves when I was 9, but never any training on how to use them. And then when I was in the Marine Corps, and I think I was in Japan, I saw that they had a heavy bag hanging in the gym. And so I took like duct tape. I taped my hands. I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm punching the heavy bag. And these guys are playing basketball. And this one guy, he stops playing and he walks over to me and goes, "Do you know what you're doing?" I said, "No, you want to show me?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." And this guy showed me how to hit the bag and all. And that got me very interested. And when I got to a base, my next base, which was in Marietta, Georgia, in Smyrna / Marietta, there was a guy in town that ran a business, karate boxing business, Gerard Pro Karate Boxing, I think it was called. And I went there and I learned a lot from Lloyd Gerard on what to do. So after that, I had one fight, I guess you could call it. Back then, it was on Smyrna cable TV, and it was against a karate guy, and I'm boxing, and I think he broke my ribs. But throughout the years, the decades that followed, I would fall in and out of shape, but I always carried that heavy bag around that I had from my Marine Corps days, which is actually sitting in the garage now. And I've always had an interest in it. I've only had one USA boxing sanction thing, which I was 48, 49. It was right before I retired from the police. So this was like maybe 2006. And that was it. I just had that one fight, which they stopped it too early and the guy got TKO'd. But
yeah,
you know,
it was going that direction, but
yeah,
it was a little.
Well, you were there,
yeah.
You were the corner guy on that.
Yeah,
that was so great having you and my brother.
That was the best.
Yeah.
What song did you come out to for that fight?
Neil Young, Old Man.
I love that.
And we were warming up in the back room. You were holding the mids, and I'm in.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny because I was probably in the best shape of my life. I was training at Wilkie's in Bridgewater, and we were training like madmen. I could have gotten 10 rounds, and I was never in that kind of shape before. But we were warming up, and we're hitting the mitts, and these two guys that were like trainers for another guy that was waiting to go out. He one of those guys is like, "I know you," and we were like, "No." He's like, "I think I know you," because he must have thought I was like some kind of, experienced boxer or something.
Yeah.
I've got a question from the Facebook comments for you, Fred.
Oh yeah.
What's the youngest age you have trained to box? What's the youngest age of a person you've trained to box?
Oh, that I've trained? 4.
4 years old.
Yeah, I think the little kid down the street is, but he's only been over 2 or 3 times. I think he was the youngest. This kid that was 6 next door, he's probably 7 now. And then Luke, Kelly, Sam, and Randy, my kids, I don't know if we started training earlier than 4.
No,
I don't think so. It didn't make sense to start. 4 is pretty young.
Yeah.
But I mean, the boys, they both started wrestling at 4.
Hmm.
And Sam might have started. She might have started that early. I don't know. Samantha was hitting at 13 harder than a couple of the men that I knew, and I mean legitimately.
Yep.
How do you measure that? How hard a person's hitting?
You hold mitts and they hit the mitts. You're holding the bag, they're hitting the bag. You're wearing a bodysuit and they punch you in the gut.
So it's not the arcade version where you hit the punching bag and it measures.
I suppose you could do that too. Yeah, I suppose. But you
No,
can
but
tell. You can tell who can.
You do it by
can
feel,
really
huh?
hit. And I developed a really good technique through Lloyd Gerard. That is, through him and just practicing, where I can hit really hard, and I'm still training. I'm going to train after this.
That's awesome. So a big part of what we're doing with MAVminds is really exploring original thought, manifestation, turning your ideas into reality. And let's start first with a couple of your original theories. The true map of the universe. That's something that I remember you sent to Neil deGrasse Tyson to have him evaluate. So can you give us a little overview of what that is?
I was really surprised. I mean, I sent him an email, and he responded within 5 minutes. I might have caught him at the right time, but I don't know. But I sent him my theory of the true map of the universe, and he responded back. Basically, I can't use the words that he used, but basically what he was telling me is that in order to push your theory forward, you need to be able to have some ability to measure something to show some kind of evidence that would help support your theory. And I misinterpreted that when he first said that, but now I understand what he was saying. So I sought out to try to find that evidence. Basically, what happened was it was 2008. November, and it was at night, about 11 o'clock, maybe midnight, and all of a sudden I get hit with this idea, and it was more than an idea. It was an understanding in my mind. It was an understanding of how the universe is actually constructed, and basically what I think is going on out there is there are these black holes which no one seems to have a true understanding of, but they seem to understand that they have some kind of influence on the matter within a galaxy. And it sounds as though in the center of every spiral galaxy is a black hole, which is influencing all the stars, causing all the stars, all the suns and stars and planets within that galaxy to be in an orbit around it. Now, that's happening in our galaxy. We have in the center of the Milky Way, which what we're in, we have a black hole that is influencing our sun and all the stars and everything that's in it, and it's pushing us into a orbit. Now, they name that black hole in the center of the galaxy, in the center of galaxies. They call them supermassive black holes, but I changed the name of them, and I simply call them level 1 black holes. So a level 1 black hole would be a black hole that would be influencing the stars within a galaxy. A level 2 black hole, and this is the understanding that I came upon in November 2008, a level 2 black hole is influencing billions of level 1s. So you have a level 1 black hole influencing billions of stars within a galaxy. a level 2 black hole influencing billions of level 1s with their stuff. There's level 3s, 4s, level 42s, level 66s, level 108. It's really big. It makes the universe way larger and much older, and so I shared that with Neil deGrasse Tyson, and then I sought out to try to follow his instructions. And my buddy Bill Murillo, he knew about this idea, and he was at a pinball thing in Pennsylvania, and it's this thing where you pay like $20 and you get to play all the pinball machines inside like a big warehouse, and people swap and trade and buy and sell their pinball machines in there. And he was in there, and he meets this guy that works for NASA. And Bill says, I got this friend. He needs to talk to somebody like you. And so he says, well, the NASA guy says to him, well, have him, here's my contact info. So I write to him and explain to him the true map of the universe. And he responds back, well, I'm not really the guy to talk to. The guy to talk to is down the hall from me. His name is Dr. John Matter. And actually, he's doing a YouTube thing where you submit questions to him. So I'm like, okay. I look it up. I find out what it has to be. You have to cram the question into a 30-second spot. So I'm like, okay, what can I ask this guy who is a Nobel laureate, who really knows about this stuff, has the credentials, and what can I ask him that would help support the theory of the true map of the universe? And I'm like, well, maybe he could tell me whether or not there's a way to measure if galaxies are moving in an arc. Because if you could show that galaxies are moving in an arc, then perhaps they're in an orbit. So that was the question I asked him, and he responded and said that they do believe that galaxies are moving in an arc, and that but they're in an orbit, but they're in orbits around each other. That was the current thinking, he said. So that wasn't really something I could hang on to. He said there was no tool to measure, that they do believe that some galaxies are accelerating right now, which to me, that means that they're just moving closer to that level 1 black hole or level 2 black hole, that they're moving closer to that, which causes them to, spin around.
Mm-hmm.
But since then, and I can't find it, there was an article by 3 guys that said that they believe that there are 3 clusters of galaxies that are out there being influenced by something else that's causing them to move. And they titled that black hole that's influencing those 3, they titled it the Grand Influencer. Because if you hang on to the supermassive black hole as a name, then if there is another one, that's influencing that stuff, now what are you going to call it? A super duper black hole? Well, I simply call them level 1, level 2, level 3, and so on. And I think that makes more sense.
I agree. I mean, things are getting infinitely smaller. They're finding new particles as they get smaller and smaller. Same thing, infinitely bigger. Last night, actually, I was hanging out with Liam, and we were talking about the Big Bang, Big Crunch theory, because there's the Big Bang, which is the accepted theory for the origin of the universe, and there's the Big Bang, Big Crunch, which is not just the Big Bang, but you have this crunch where it pulls back to a point of, bringing all matter into one point and exploding again. And then there's theories that those are happening all over in the greater universe, and we're just one of those Big Bangs that has happened, and that is our 13.8 billion years ago origin story there. And what's wild is Liam had his own theory last night, which was a ton of fun. He was telling me he had an idea of pulling in, this idea of time where we can't perceive it, but the big bangs and big crunches are happening at all times in every way, but we're moving fast through time. And because we're moving so fast, we're not experiencing them. And this is, a 9-year-old boy who came up with his own original theory, which was awesome. And he said, when you pass away, that's actually when you stop moving, and therefore you can then enter into, outside of this big bang, big crunch, infinite type aspect. So I got to talk to him more about it. It was awesome. It was so much fun.
He's got a busy mind, that guy.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he definitely does some thinking about things.
Yeah. And I wanted to kind of wrap with art. So Marine Corps, and then of course boxing throughout your life. We didn't touch on the police academy, or not the police academy, but the police force and detective world. We could talk for a long time about that as well too. But throughout all that, you've had an artistic streak in life, and in a way, like, have been an artist your whole life as well too. But even more so now, you've integrated technology into your artwork through using Procreate, an iPad, Apple Pencil, kind of pulling that together. What are you working on in that world?
I mean, the only reason I'm working on that is because you discovered it and were able to provide me with the iPad and the iPencil, which and pointed me in the direction of Procreate, and what that program does and those tools do, they allow you to act as though you're sketching or drawing on a regular piece of paper, and so I brought. I thought maybe you might ask something about this, so I brought out here. This is my favorite thing that I made. This here is the woman here. Her name is Carol, and Carol commissioned this to be made for herself and her husband, and for her husband as a surprise for their 50th anniversary. So I spent about 3 hours with Carol, and we talked about their life, and then came up with a theme of a Chicago street scene, and a Chicago theater district street scene, and so that's where these are all her friends and her family, and buildings and restaurants and just funny stories throughout their life that she shared with me, that we put this together. And she gave that to Ronnie, her husband. I guess it was 2 years ago now. That's my favorite. Those kind of things I did by hand.
Yeah.
In the police department for people that would retire and that sort of thing. But then I did a few this way. They take a lot of time though. That took about 700 hours.
Yeah.
These are quicker. This is one I made of Peggy, who retired from the police department that I retired from, and so these are I call portraits, and my wife Liza, she created a business out of it, and a website and all that, and she develops customers that want stuff created. So, but right now I'm doing two portraits. One I haven't started yet, and one that I'm almost done with, which is 3 children, brothers and sisters together. And I like how it's coming out. You've seen it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And so far.
Absolutely. And where can people find more about your art and kind of seeing some of those portraits?
Well, the website is called FredRyanArt.LLC.com. The Instagram, I think it has the same name. I'm not sure. And I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you for being our first guest. Absolutely awesome. You know, I mean, I'm sure
Thank
we'll
you.
talk soon. You know, I'm sure being a father-son connection, we'll be chatting later today.
I hope they don't
Really
kick
do.
you off the internet because of this.
I don't think we're pretty good. Pretty good. So, Matt, what do you think? How's episode 1, interview 1?
Hey, I think we got to test the waters here with a lot of the resources we had put together. Fred, I think you did an amazing job. You're a very, very interesting individual. I hope we get a chance to talk again soon. Maybe you'll be
Thanks,
guest
man.
number 2 as well. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea if you want to actually be a success.
No, we really do appreciate it, and you definitely filled the time with a lot of interesting info. And if we have any follow-up questions from people watching or seeing this info, these replays later, we'll be sure and reach out to you and get some questions answered. But thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thanks.
Awesome. Love you, Dad. Thank you.
You too.
You rock.
Bye.
All right, Mr. Matt. What do we do
Well,
from
there
here?
you go, Luke. What do you think?
What do we think? What do we think? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? I think what we do is we have a series of other interviews. We tie in some people that are doing some great work. I've got a few people in mind for that. Just some people that I've met through life, others that I just want to reach out to, share their story, learn more about that. Kind of taking their ideas, turning them to reality, doing things good for the community, for the world. I definitely have a few people in mind for that. And the big picture, I think build a community that's going to help each other be the best that they can be, and drive to create in the world with their own skill set, but also modern tools that they may not be aware of or how to use them. I mean, you and I geek out about generative AI and everything you're seeing in the news there. So we're going to bring all those tools to bear for this show. We'll keep an open book when it comes to how we integrate those tools. I mean, we've even used them, whether that's ChatGPT or Midjourney or D.ID or D-ID, I think it is.
D-ID. Yeah, those guys are great. Yeah.
And let's keep it open and really share what we're learning along the way too, and the other game changers.
Yeah, I think that's the key. As we experiment with and struggle with and succeed with these different technologies, I think it's really fun to demonstrate to people how they can be a part of our show and also go out into their own jungle of technology and create their own presence online with these same kinds of tools. So I'm excited about it. I would love to add some more pre-recorded content. And in the field, on-site examples that we can refer to then during the live show in the future. So watch for that. And otherwise, Luke, I think I'm about ready to just play our intro one more time because I spent a few hours on it.
Let's do it.
Play it twice.
Absolutely, I love the intro.
But I'll play that. I'll play us out, and then I'm going to end the broadcast. So I'll just say this is Matt Shields signing off, and it was great being a part of all this today, and looking forward to many more. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.